viewing or listening to this podcast confirms acceptance of the disclaimer visible on your screen or found at authorscott.com/podcast. Welcome to the Regaining Health and Humanity podcast. I'm Dr. Scott Johnson, your guide on this journey to natural well-being. Here we explore evidence-based insights, revolutionary breakthroughs, and powerful health strategies that not only inform, but inspire change. Together, we'll uncover the mysteries of human existence and unlock the secrets to thriving. This podcast is more than just knowledge. It's your catalyst for unleashing extraordinary potential. Get ready. Your journey to boundless health and happiness starts now. Hello, friends, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches nearly everyone, the belief that our health and even our worth is tied to our appearance. Our guest is Tyler Bramlett, a movement coach, father, and co-founder of WeShape. Tyler's own path was dramatically reshaped by a debilitating cycling accident that left him with a shattered femur and permanent knee damage. Unable to return to the appearance-driven fitness routines he once knew, he spent 15 years in healing, undergoing multiple surgeries and studying functional anatomy and biomechanics. Through this journey, he rejected shame-based fitness culture and discovered that real transformation comes from moving smarter, not pushing harder. Now he helps others achieve what he calls movement freedom, the ability to live without feeling trapped in a body that hurts. Tyler, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
You bet. I'm excited to dive in. And so I just want to jump right into that first question. It's kind of, I mentioned your journey already a little bit, but your journey really shifted your focus entirely. Can you articulate what it really means to help people feel good in and about their bodies and how this is fundamentally different from traditional appearance-driven fitness programs?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. I mean, I just want to call out the elephant in the room here. If you look at the fitness industry, the majority of the messaging that people see is you should hate yourself unless you look this particular way, unless you have a skinny body. And oh, by the way, you should buy my product so you can get that, so you can start liking yourself again. And I'll be honest with you, like most people, I fell prey to this, right? I didn't grow up in a body that was fit and healthy and able to move. I actually grew up in a family that didn't know anything about health and fitness. And I was, like most of us, I didn't get a lot of advice. I didn't get good examples. And so my early journey was to do that. It was to change the way I looked so I could finally be happy. Mm-hmm. And as luck would have it, I got hit by a car, hurt my knee, and then a decade later, hurt my knee really badly again. So I've been through a lot of pain, rehabilitation. And I think what happens when you get injured like that, the desire to use fitness as a tool to look differently kind of fades away because you're miserable. Every step you take is pain. And all you want to do is feel better. And so I started going, hey, wait a second. I need to focus on fitness to feel good, not to change the way I looked. And so that desire to change the way I looked kind of melted away. And it really became about how do I use this to become more connected to my body, to learn how to care for my body, to learn how to show up for my body so I could feel good again. And along the way, a lot of people saw that and wanted to learn more from that. But I was still stuck in the old mentality. So it was like, okay, come on, we'll teach you how to get stronger abs and do these things. And it wasn't until I had a couple of daughters and my wife at the same time started realizing, hey, do you notice that all this messaging is really about self-hatred? It's using self-hatred to create motivation. And I had this moment where I was like, I've been doing this to myself all of this time. And throughout the years, we helped, thousands of people lose weight and transform their bodies. And you know what I noticed? Even when people lost 100 pounds, even when they reached the quote unquote goal, they were so wrapped up in using self-judgment and criticism and hatred that they were just nitpicking themselves. So what's the next thing I need to change? Nobody was happy. Nobody really loved and appreciated themselves. And for the most part, people weren't actually achieving their goals. They were believing that they weren't enough. And so they were acting in accordance with that, not taking care of themselves. And so when I started WeShape, the goal wasn't just to teach people how to move better and feel better. It was to let people know that the fitness industry is playing on your insecurities. It's designed to make you feel bad about yourself. And all of that propagates less self-worth. And when you have less self-worth, you don't take care of yourself. And we wonder why. Why is it that we've been on this fitness train for 50 years? We spend 65 times more money on health and wellness now than we did 50 years ago. But all the diseases, depression, anxiety, pain, everything has been on the rise for 50 years. And I personally believe it's because we've been telling people the wrong message. And so my message is, let's take care of ourselves. Let's learn how to be kind to ourselves. Let's learn how to show up for ourselves and take care of our bodies and get connected to our bodies in a way that's much different than the rest of the fitness industry is telling us to do.
It's interesting that you say you were fortunately hit by a car, because most people wouldn't say something like that. But that really resonates with me because, you know, I was diagnosed a couple decades ago with a condition that reshaped my life, changed my journey, made me go into health instead of business where I was in. And so I consider that a blessing, where most people would probably think, man, that's really a negative thing that happened to you. How's it a blessing? You know, many people feel trapped by years of toxic fitness and diet messaging. What does the process of unlearning this shame-based culture actually look like for your clients?
Yeah. I mean, like anything that we're trying to change, I think the first thing that we need to do is build awareness that it exists, right? So probably the easiest way I like to describe to people is, hey, have you ever stepped on a scale and looked down at the number and felt horrible about yourself? And I always joke about this, but I'm like, okay, 90% of people raise their hands and 10% of people are liars, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody has had that experience of feeling shame because of the way that they look. And so I just want to bring awareness to the fact that we've been told that how skinny you are, your weight, how you look is your worth in this world. And especially women, even more so than men, right? And again, I got 2 daughters. I don't want them to grow up in a world that encourages them to hate themselves, right? I want them to grow up in a world that says, hey, you're good just as you are, and let's all learn how to love and take care of ourselves and each other. And so I think awareness is the first point. And then what we teach people within WeShape is, you know, we start with saying, hey, quit exercising. Quit exercising. And it sounds contrarian, right? But exercise has so much negativity associated with it. I mean, come on, like think about it. When you think about exercise, most people, especially people who aren't consistent with it, they're like, oh, I have to exercise, right? It's that negative feeling, that fear-based motivation that we've been stuck in for so long. And I tell people, let's replace it with practicing movement. Let's practice movement, and with the intention of caring for our bodies. And I think people have a hard time connecting with that when it comes to fitness, again, because we think of fitness as something we have to do, not something we get to do. So I always try to use a different example too, which is, hey, if I took your toothbrush away for 5 days and I gave that toothbrush back to you at the end of the 5 days, you'd probably be like, oh, thank you so much. I get to take care of my teeth again. It was like horrible to not brush my teeth. Well, if we can approach fitness like that, I get to take care of my body. I get to move and stretch and feel good. And if our movement practice is that, it's not something that's super intense and leaving us feeling wiped out or oftentimes causing us aches, pains, and injuries, but rather it's something that we do and we walk away from feeling good, then we want to do more of it. When things feel good, we want to do it again. When things feel bad, which is where that old fitness paradigm started from, we don't want to do it. So helping people learn how to move their bodies better, learn how to connect with their bodies from a different place. We take them through this curriculum over the course of their journey with us that really delves into the mindset side of things. And it starts with that awareness. Hey, you're not born feeling crappy about yourself, right? You talk to any kid and they love themselves. They don't care how they look at all. We learned that. And so what we're trying to do is help you unlearn that. And it starts with the awareness that exists. And then it starts with a whole slew of other things that we help people do on the psychological side. Simple stuff like, you know, when you walk past a mirror and you notice yourself immediately jump into criticism, the first thing we do, again, awareness. Let's notice that that's happening. And then if we can, let's pause it, take some deep breaths and move on. And then from there, if we want to take it even a step further, let's replace it and let's rehearse something new, like a little bit of appreciation for the body that's carried you throughout your entire life. So, you know, it's all integrated with everything that we do. Even the movement routines themselves have encouragements throughout them. Not like, you know, no pain, no gain, right? It's like, you've got this. I've seen so many people find a much more sustainable and long-term approach to this and remove all of that shame and self-judgment that we've carried with us for so long.
If I could summarize what you just said in a few words, beyond awareness, I would say words and mentality matter. How you term something, what you think about something definitely matters. Why do you think so many people, especially those that are over age 40, are connecting with the concepts of body neutrality and self-compassion right now. And what is the key difference between those movements?
Yeah, I love this concept. And, I try to think about a lot of these words that we use, they pop up and we have to create meaning around them. But I think everybody knows what it feels like to have somebody in your life that you love and want to care for, right? Maybe it's your children, or your partner, or your parents, or something like that. And it's really easy to look at someone outside of ourselves and say, I would love and care for that person and do anything for them. And then we look at ourselves. And it's really hard to show up and do that for ourselves. So beyond even just body neutrality and self-care and stuff, it's like I want us to learn how to cultivate that same feeling that we would offer to others that we love to ourselves, right? And then start showing up for ourselves in that way. And it's going to make a big difference. To me, I really think of what we do at WeShape and practicing movement and reconnecting with our bodies as a way to really light that candle inside each person of self-love. And when they start to do that, it starts small, by the way. This doesn't happen on day one. It takes time. But as we consistently do it, it gets stronger and stronger. And as you keep those promises to yourself, as you take care of yourself more, guess what happens? Other people around you go, wait, I want some of that too, right? And so I'm a huge fan of trying to create a business that elevates the consciousness of humanity. And to me, there's really only two ways to look at it. Are you causing people to live in fear, in criticism, in self-judgment, in hatred, or are you helping people learn to live in love, kindness, compassion, right?
I talked about a similar concept with another guest recently on one of my episodes. And what we talked about is giving yourself grace. You have to give yourself the same grace that you would give somebody else. And you're absolutely right that the things that we internalize to ourselves, our internal dialogue, or we think about ourselves, are often so much harsher and more critical than we would ever say to our friend or our neighbor or whatever. So we're our worst critics, and you have to allow yourself that grace and some self-compassion.
Yeah.
One of the things, Coach Tyler, that you advocate for is moving smarter. What are some of the non-aesthetic internal metrics like pain reduction, energy, or flexibility that people should focus on to redefine what success looks like in their bodies?
Oh, this is a great question. And I have to tamper down my geekiness when we get to questions around biomechanics and, exercise physiology and stuff. Because the mindset side, I think, is fairly obvious to people. It's hard to let it really sink in and start working differently. But I think it's pretty obvious. We've all had moments of basically seeing some influencer on social media that made us feel bad about ourselves. And then, realizing oh, I should go work out. And then we get stuck in that trap. But when it comes to fitness, I think that most people don't have a clear sense of why we're doing this in the first place. What's the purpose of this, right? And what do we do to improve how we feel, not change how we look? And so to backtrack, when we look at fitness, the majority of what people are talking about everywhere is based around intensity. It's based around output. And usually it comes into two camps. It's either sweat, burn calories harder, no pain, no gain, get after it so you can, finally be skinny, or pump your muscles. And that way you can sculpt your body, get more tone, gain muscle, etc. Right? But here's the thing about both of those things. If you move poorly, and when I say move poorly, your body's designed to move a certain way. And if you don't move it that way, you wear out your joints, things start to feel bad, you lose your strength, you lose your flexibility. And I think over time, you start to feel bad in your body. And so what we focus on at WeShape is it's not about intensity. It's about quality, and it's about cultivating consistency. And if we can get you consistently practicing movement, you can see we use these words intentionally, right? Practicing movement. And often for people, I tell them, hey, make it easy. Finish your routine and feel oh, that was easy. How often do you do that? You go to join a fitness routine and you finish it that was pretty easy. But guess what? If we collect those easy wins and feeling good, then we want to do it more, right? And if we want to do it more, that's what really develops that consistency that matters in the long run. First of all, stop focusing on intensity. Okay. It's not about how fast your heart's beating or how pumped your muscles are. That's an old way of thinking about this. It's about how consistently you can practice movement. Now, when I say practice movement, this means being embodied. So many people, when they exercise, they follow this no pain, no gain philosophy. we like put on something on the TV and hit the treadmill and we check out, or we're doing something that hurts, but I should probably push through because I'm trying to finish this routine, right? At the end of the day, what you really want to do is you want to get really good at feeling your body. Like people are cut off from the neck down. They ignore how their body feels. They ignore those signals. And so a movement practice is when I'm going to practice a squat or a push-up or a core movement, how do I do this in the way that my body was designed to do this so that I can not injure myself, so that I can build strength and flexibility safely? And then over time, can I change the difficulty of those movements to make it a little bit harder and a little bit harder so that my body can accommodate and create more strength, more flexibility, more balance, more coordination, so that I can have as much movement freedom as possible? And what's really interesting about this, if you want to get into the geeky side of this, so much of fitness, again, is like, how long can you go on the treadmill, or how much weight can you lift for how many repetitions? None of that focuses on quality of movement. If you can run faster or for longer periods of time, but you're doing it poorly, you're going to wear out your knees, your hips, and your back. You're going to hurt yourself, right? That's going to happen eventually. So quality is at the crux of all fitness, but nobody's teaching what it means to move your body. Like we don't have a manual that says, hey, your knee is supposed to point the same direction as your toes as you're squatting, as you're lunging. You're supposed to feel these muscles when you're doing this thing. Here's how to properly activate your core. Here's how you hold your posture. Here's how you change the way that you feel in these different ways. And the more we can connect with that and learn that and develop a toolbox of how our body's supposed to feel, how our body's supposed to move, well, that carries us through our life in a way that gives us more of that movement freedom that we're after. And earlier you asked, like, why are people who are 40 and 50 and 60 connecting with this? It's really interesting to me, Scott, because I think from, let's call it like a more spiritual side, I think the younger generation understands the concept of like the fitness industry is shaming us. They can see it really clearly. And they're like, I don't want to be a part of that. But then they end up just kind of going out and seeking something that's cryptically the same. Like, I'm going to go do CrossFit, or I'm going to focus on performance. And still all of this is like focused around gratifying their egos. They haven't had enough losses. They haven't had enough times where they started a routine and stopped because of that fear-based motivation that doesn't keep you consistent. They haven't had enough sessions where they got injured because they let their ego get ahead of them. But the older we get, the more times we've probably started and stopped, the more times we've probably done something, ended up getting injured. And we start to feel like, gosh, I just wish that there was something that could help me feel better, reconnect with my body more. And people care less. They start to care less about the aesthetics, and they start to care more about, I want my quality of life to be better when I'm in my 60s, my 70s, my 80s, 90s. And if your focus is longevity, then you'll really resonate with practicing movement, learning how to move your body better so you feel better in your body, and really focusing on quality rather than quantity.
You mentioned injuries, something that can really interfere with any type of fitness goal, because if you're hurting or you've been injured, it really can limit what you're able to do.
Yeah.
For someone coming off a major injury or chronic pain like you did, what's the single most important mental shift they need to make to stop pushing through the pain and start truly listening to their body?
Oh, I love that question. That's great. I thought you were going to say the physical shift there for a second. I was going to get geeky again. But no, the mental shift is big, because I feel like, I'll give you an example. I've had 5 knee surgeries. Okay. I got pretty injured the first time, and that recovery went pretty well. But then my right knee, I just got brutally injured, and I still deal with it. It's still, and I tell people, when you have an injury, it's a guru living inside of you, and it's going to teach you when you're on track to taking care of your body or not. When you're moving well, when you're taking care of it, you feel good, or at least you feel better. If you're not, it starts to feel worse. But when I first injured my right knee, which is the one with the 4 knee surgeries, I did my surgery, and I remember coming back from that. 3 months from now, I'm going to be back to everything I was doing. I was very disappointed in that one. A year went by, still didn't feel too good. And then I got another knee surgery. Okay, this time I'm going to give myself a little more grace. 6 months from now, I'm going to be back to everything. Okay, this happened each time. I would always extend the time period. And I finally realized after the last knee surgery I had, so I'm going to give myself 2 years. I'm going to give myself 2 years to really feel like I'm back to where I was before, or at least back to where I think I should be able. And that grace you have to give yourself is really important, because it's so easy to get attached to what we were able to do before injuries, and then let the ego get ahead of us and think to ourselves that we're going to get back to where we were before. And I think one of the hardest things to do when we get injured or as we age even, and maybe it's not, an acute injury, maybe it's something that's happened over time, is to recognize like every single one of us, we're going to start to degenerate. We're going to lose function. We're going to end up with injuries. We're going to end up, in the long term, not being here anymore. And so, how do we take care of ourselves right now to make that as long as possible? And then, how do we find love for our circumstances right now? So that way, even if we are in that, we can still really enjoy our lives. We can find gratitude for waking up and realizing that our heart beat all night long without us having to think about it, or that we breathed all night long. We got another day on this earth. So I think there's this misnomer where people think we're going to get out of all that. And I try to remind people that it's going to happen to all of us. So we got to work both ways. We got to work on showing up today, always taking action, always trying to be consistent, and always trying to extend that longevity, and recognizing that we're all going to get old, we're all going to die. And that means if we don't learn how to appreciate the moment right now, you think it's just going to show up all of a sudden one day? No. So let's start working on really appreciating everything that we have, regardless of what that means for us, even if it means we can barely move our bodies.
There's definitely sometimes a mental block when you have an injury like this. I mean, I can remember and speak personally when I was in high school, I broke my leg playing basketball, and it was when I drove to the hoop, and that was the style of basketball I played at the time. I would attack the rim and I would try and get as close as possible to make a shot. And after I had the surgery and my leg was fixed, and they gave me the permission to start playing basketball again, my game changed. I was a jump shooter. I didn't want to drive the lane anymore because I kept thinking about that injury that I'd had. And it took me a while to finally get over that mental block and be able to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I cut in real quick on something
Sure.
there? Because I think
Yeah.
it's really important. Like during my last knee surgery and I was going into recovery, I went on this trip, and I was at this resort, and I was going up this staircase. Okay. And it was like 100 stairs, this gigantic staircase. And, this is only a few years ago. My knee was hurting, and I noticed my internal dialogue. You know what it said? It was like, come on, you piece of shit, keep up. Why? It was just so negative. And I think that, again, this is like what we've been taught, that when something's not working in our body, we default to treating it poorly. And luckily at the time, I always love having mentors and people to learn from. I had this mentor, and I had told that story, and she said to me, oh, that's so interesting. What would you say if your daughter was walking up the stairs in pain and struggling behind you? Ooh, that landed, man. That landed hard. Like I would look back at her and say the same things I said to myself. And she said, next time you're struggling, let's change the inner dialogue to the way that you treat your daughter. And that was a catalyst of change for me, because even though I was doing the things and taking care of myself, and for the most part had a better mentality at that time, I still, when it came to the injuries, I'd slip back into that pattern of criticism and self-judgment. And that was a game changer for me to actually literally say, right, knee, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. We're going to take care of you just like you've taken care of us. And you can take as much time as you need to heal. We'll make it as easy as you need, and gradually we'll get there together. And, when it comes to the physical side of it, what we do at WeShape is we use what's called progressive movement. And what's interesting is if you look in the science behind this, how a child learns how to function and move in the world is through progressive movement. When you have a baby, first they have to learn how to lift their head off the ground, which is really core stabilization. Then they learn how to roll over to their belly, which again is coordinating more of the limbs and the core at the same time. Then they press up, then they crawl, then they stand, then they walk. This is a movement progression, taking you from the basics all the way to a more sophisticated movement. So underneath the design of the workouts that we create for people at WeShape is a movement progression. And so if you've injured your knees, we're not the company that's going to be like, okay, let's do some squats. We're going to be like, okay, first, let's do some isometrics. Let's build that comfort and that safety with using the muscles and using the joints again. And then over time, as you scale the difficulty of those up, we'll expose you to things that are more challenging. And when we do that, it's like almost like sometimes we got to take 10 steps backwards and build a really strong foundation so we can take 20 or 30 steps forward. And most people, they don't do that. They just take one step backward, one step forward, one step backward, one step forward. What happens when you do that for 10 years? You go nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of our philosophy and how we approach this type of situation.
I feel like community support and having a workout partner is really important. They can help motivate you. They can help keep you accountable. Why is community such an important non-negotiable part of WeShape's approach, and how does it support long-term success that
Yeah.
individual workouts often fail to provide?
Scott, you said the part that everybody already knows, right? When you have a community, partners doing this with you, like there's the things that we all know. Like somebody will help you through the hard times. They'll encourage you when you need a little bit of motivation, right? That's great. But I think there's something bigger underneath this, which is we're asking people to change how they view themselves. We're asking people to change their internal motivations and their beliefs and their values. And frankly, when we expose people to the fact that I personally believe the fitness industry is just making people feel horrible about themselves, when you go and bring that to someone else, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, whatever. I am still following, the military diet and doing this program and blah, blah, blah. It takes a little while for it to land in, and you got to be willing to hear that information. And so why I think community is important is not just because you need to have people there to support you when you're feeling off and encourage you when you need it, but when we have community that we trust, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, we can change. Okay. And so if we're trying to change your beliefs about what fitness means and why you should do it fundamentally, and we're trying to get you to abandon this toxic fitness culture's mentality and instead start showing up for yourself as an act of self-care rather than self-judgment, you need people around you who understand the journey you're on, that you can talk to about this, and that can hold you through some of these changes. Because frankly, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the people who are thinking this way right now. So many of us are just stuck in this old mentality of like, I hate myself, so I should go work out. And so I think that community is encouraging. It's amazing and supportive, and that safety is required to fundamentally change how we're showing up with our beliefs and our values.
You use what's called the coach framework. So
Yeah.
COACH. There's periods between all the letters, but can you explain what coach is and specifically how your movement sessions are designed to support
Yeah.
people, even on days they don't feel their best, which happens to every one of us. There are days we just wake up and we go, man, can I work out? I just don't feel like it.
I love this question. And for any of the people out there who are curious, COACH stands for Custom Optimized Algorithm Creating Health. I'm a little bit of an acronym nerd, right? But we just call it COACH and keep it really simple. Part of what makes WeShape special, I know this mindset and this message that we're talking about is really the crux of what I think will help people in the long run. But I also want to give people the absolute best chances at learning how to move and learning how to reconnect with their bodies. And that required us to build something that could not just give you a routine that we designed, for everybody. It required that we design something that was for you. And so I used to be a personal trainer many years ago. And after all these injuries and all the things I had learned, nobody got the same routine. Nobody even got close to the same routine. And when somebody came in to do a work, I'd have a plan in mind. I would say, okay, I think that they're at these level on these movements, and I would pick these things for them. But then when they walk in, I say, hey, how'd you sleep last night? I slept horrible. How's your body feel right now? It's all off. Okay, let's do a lot more mobility and stretching today. We don't need to beat you up anymore, right? Or hey, I slept great. I'm feeling great, coach. Let's do it. Okay, let's push it, right? And so as we designed the WeShape program, I wanted to build something truly exceptional and something that offered people a workout that was unique to them. So like today, right now, I've got about 7,000 people doing a WeShape workout. Every single one of those workout routines is different. Every single one of them. It took us 4 years and an amazing CTO to be able to build this and an amazing content team to be able to do it. But, basically we're able to pull from a library of 900 different movements and stretches and assemble a routine for each individual. And it says, how'd you sleep last night? And you answer the question, how's your body feel last night? You answer the question, and this is how much time do you have? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. And so it's very flexible. Doesn't require any equipment. We do everything with just our body weight, so people have no excuses to not be able to do this. So we added the 10-minute routines too, because who doesn't have 10 minutes? And then based on your answers and based on the profile that we've already created for you, where we already took the time on the intake process to understand where are you tight? Where are you weak? What do you want to work on the most? And we build a customized routine for you that adjusts every single day. So that was the goal, is I wanted people to not buy some cookie cutter program, which is most of the programs out there. I wanted people to have a similar experience to having a really qualified personal trainer giving you exactly what your body needed each and every day and adjusting it as you go.
It sounds like an amazing program because that's really what I'd like to see medicine go to as well, as individualized,
Yes.
personalized medicine.
Yes.
Right now, a lot of medicine is cookie cutter. Like you come in and everybody gets the same thing if they have the same condition or symptoms. And fitness needs to be adjusted not only to the individual, but to your level or your capacity of the day because of
Yes.
what's been going on, your stress levels. Are you not feeling well? Did you not sleep right? Did you not eat well? Or did you not hydrate well? There's all kinds of factors that can make it so that you need to adjust your movement that day. And so I think that what you've put together is very practical and very cutting edge. So I love what you're doing there.
I appreciate that, Scott. Just one final thing on there. Like, you could tell I have a little bit of a vendetta against the fitness industry. And part of the reason why I felt that way was, I didn't come from a family that grew up healthy, like I said. And I remember trying to get my dad to come to the gym with me early on. And I watched this trainer just beat him into the ground and he never went back. It was just this horrible experience. And then as I became a personal trainer, I'd watch more and more of these people just do that. They thought their job was to just beat people into the ground. They would do the same thing with everybody. They wouldn't take them into consideration. I got really upset about that. I'm like, these people are coming to these trainers, paying them good money and thinking that this person has their best interests at heart. And most of the time, these people went through a weekend certification and they were a former athlete who's never had an ache, pain, or injury in their life. So they have absolutely no idea how to accommodate someone who's coming in at 40, 50 years old with aches, pains, and injuries who's never done a workout routine in their life. That's what planted the seed to this years ago when I got started, was like, man, I wish I could offer this to everybody. And so, it's really been the journey I've been on the last 5 years. Is technology has caught up and I've gotten the opportunity to build this. And so, I'm trying to make sure that everyone gets what they need, their unique body.
Coach Tyler, I want to end on a practical question.
Great.
If a listener wants to start the journey of untangling their worth from their appearance today, what is one small practical action they can take this week to begin that shift toward movement freedom?
I think we have to start changing the reason why we're showing up. I think if we have the wrong intentions and they're rooted in fear and criticism and self-judgment, you're going to end up starting and stopping over and over again, and you're going to get stuck. I mean, I bet you 99% of the listeners have started and stopped fitness routines over and over again and don't feel like they've made any progress. And I believe that underneath it is the intention is ultimately rooted in self-hatred. So, one of the things that we do at WeShape with people is we ask you why. Why are you here? And I invite people, when you do that, why are you joining a fitness program in the first place? Let the superficial stuff rise. Like, just let it pop up. Oh, because I want to lose weight. Like, that's probably going to rise to the top at first. But pause and ask yourself, why do I want to lose weight? And what we find is that when people ask that question 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, typically they can find something that is not just like a fear-based motivator anymore, but it becomes inspirational and positive. Right. And I'll give you a great example of this. This is where I learned this. I used to have a group training program before I started doing stuff online. And we had 300 clients and a bunch of trainers. So I spent a lot of time training trainers, and I would focus a lot on the psychology of things. We started asking people, why are you here? Because the more we can get your intentions aligned with your actions, the more likely you are to stick with this. And I had this one coach, I was taking her through this drill so that she could really understand it. And I said, well, what's your goal? She said, I want to be able to do a squat on one leg. I was like, oh, that's an interesting goal. Why do you want to be able to do that? She's like, I just think about it as like the epitome of strength and flexibility and control with my legs. So, well, why is it important to you to have like strength and flexibility and control? She's like, well, I want to be able to run again. Oh, that's interesting. Why do you want to be able to run again? And you could just see like the breath taken out of her. And she was like, oh, I used to run with my dad. And I loved that time we spent together. And I really want to get back to doing that again. And I love that story because, it takes you from something that's just like kind of ego and it takes you all the way down to, wait a second, why do we want to have movement freedom in the first place? Is it so we can work out more? No, it's so that we can enjoy our lives. It's so that we can experience joy, the joy that movement has to offer us. And so, I would start with intention and asking yourself that question. Why? Why are you showing up for this in the first place? Keep asking that question until you find something that lights a fire under you to get up and then do something about it.
Well, thank you, Coach Tyler. It's been enlightening, and I've appreciated the discussion with you and the context that you've shared in regards to how we can disconnect from a toxic fitness environment and how we can give ourselves grace and be more forgiving of ourselves and allow ourselves to be in the space that we need to at the time for our movement. And so thanks for being on and sharing all that wisdom.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope this helped.
Thank you for sharing your time with us today. I hope you've gained insights to elevate your health and life. For more transformative evidence-based wisdom, I invite you to explore my 20-plus books at authorscott.com/shop. Don't miss out on the chance to supercharge your health and guide others to a better life. Like, share, and subscribe to join the movement transforming lives. Here's to your journey toward boundless health and happiness.